A few days ago, someone got on here and told us straight from the pits of hell type of lie that the pro-Palestine movement, both in the United States and globally, is dead. They stated that based on the comments they received on TikTok, black people are stepping away from supporting Palestinian liberation. This harmful, misleading, disgusting lie is about to be debunked. Let's take a look at the actual facts in the real world. Since the end of the election cycle, Palestinian and black liberation organizations have been working more closely than ever before. In Jacksonville, the black-led Jacksonville Community Action Committee, a black-led grassroots group focused on black liberation, joined forces with the Palestinian-led Jacksonville Palestine Solidarity Network, as well as the student-led Students for a Democratic Society, to hold a Unite and Fight Against Trump event. In Chicago, Illinois, the National Alliance Against Racist and Political Oppression, their Chicago chapter, a black liberation organization, partnered with the United States Palestine Community Network twice in this week alone to take the streets demanding justice for Palestine and protesting racist figures like Michael Rappaport. In Minnesota, a Minnesota immigrants' rights group, as well as the Minnesota Alliance, collaborated with local Palestinian activists to host an event calling for a free Palestine and unity against Trump. Washington, D.C. also saw similar collaborations, with the D.C. Alliance hosting an event in support of Palestine liberation and to unite and fight against Trump. And it's not just those cities either. It's cities like Milwaukee, Detroit, Orlando, Atlanta, Dallas, Los Angeles, the Bay Area, New York City, and then many others have seen black liberation organizations working hand in hand with Palestinian solidarity groups, showing unwavering support for Palestinian liberation and to unite and fight against Trump. The issue here is that this person is basing their analysis on TikTok comments rather than looking at what's actually happening in the real world and listening to black community organizers. They're assuming that black people as a whole, that we've withdrawn our support for Palestinian liberation, but that's simply a lie. Well-meaning liberals like this often make sensational posts and then tell everybody to follow them for more analysis. What analysis? You're basing it on TikTok comments that are lies from random people. And despite this analysis being nothing more than an attempt to sow confusion, I'm happy to debunk it, because the truth is that the bond between the black liberation movement and the Palestinian liberation movement remains strong and unbroken. Those who are actively engaged and on the ground organizing know this. So please, stop drawing conclusions from TikTok comments and TikTok posts, and stop portraying black people as a monolith. It's misguided and frankly racist. And I beg you, please go outside in the community, touch grass, and see for yourself, because
Oh, it's been a stressful week for you, huh? How have you been dealing with it? I made a whole series of paintings of Miss Piggy dressed as different pop icons. You made a... Yeah, they know the bit. Just roll the footage. We got the original Sabrina Carpenter. We got Chapel Roan. We got this Bob Mackie number that's been worn by like 6 divas. We got Lady Gaga, Don't Mind the Smudge. Oh no, where's my last one? We got Stevie Nicks, Piggy Nicks. Wow, you are not doing okay. No, I'm deeply troubled. I am gonna try to sell prints of these though, so. Okay, good luck with that.
Vote like a radical. You might be a radical, but if you're like most of us, you've never learned how to vote like a radical. Radicals remember 3 things. 1, all candidates once elected become our opponents. 2, we vote for the ones we are best suited to fight. And 3, we protect our movements, our real sources of power. If you went to school in the United States, you likely heard that our system was the best one, that a vote meant something special, expressed who we are, told the world what we stood for. Now, some of us have always known that this system is unequal at its core. Indigenous peoples of this land have always said it. Black people have always said it. People from many marginalized identities in this country have long recognized this truth. But whenever you realize it, the day you see that our system doesn't work because it can't work is the day that your life begins to be a radical life. Yes, it's easy to skip a step. Every 4 years, we fall into voting in a liberal way, like we're co-signing a candidate rather than picking our opponent. But for radicals, voting isn't personal. Why? Because radicals know all presidents, once elected, become our opponents. In a year like this, where we're all so full of grief and rage at the genocide in Gaza and an unjust wider war that seems like it's just beginning, it can feel like casting a vote condones these horrific injustices. Who can bear to reward any party that has financed and supported the destruction of the Palestinian people, or backed the Iraq war, or made people homeless while bailing out Wall Street, or any of the countless brutal things that U.S. leaders do? We never vote for them. We always vote for us. so we can shape the conditions we need to fight for the liberation of all peoples. A radical vote isn't about who we want to represent us, because no president will do that. Even the most independent have to report to the 1%. Every president's job is to stabilize a fundamentally flawed system, and our job as radicals is to replace the system itself. Even if someone we prefer wins, it's not our job to support them. It's our job to build so much popular resistance that they are forced to defy these moneyed special interests. In fact, that is the best support we can offer them. Whether we're fighting a president we despise or one we'd like to succeed, our role is still to fight. So which of the candidates deserves our vote? None of the above. But you don't vote for who's deserving. You vote for the one you are best equipped to fight. Only one factor matters in who gets our vote. It's not which candidate we wish would be powerful. It's which election result would leave ourselves most powerful. Protecting our movements is the main question on the ballot, especially now. Since 2016, U.S. elections have set basic neoliberals against overt authoritarians whose values aren't just hateful, they are the trademarks of fascist regimes. Regimes where public silence becomes necessary for survival and social movements can no longer endure above ground. Our people have lived that level of repression. We know what it's like when governments dictate our lives without consent, in colonization and enslavement, under policies against indigenous people like removal, relocation, forced assimilation, boarding schools, and termination, under policies against black people like Jim Crow laws, fleeing persecution but finding that here too we could be threatened, with blacklisting that silences our values and identities, the fear and violence of the war on terror, laws that strip away people's bodily autonomy, that impact who, how, and where we can love and care for one another. Many of our people are still systematically prevented from voting. We are building on centuries of resistance. We are lifting up the voices of people and fighting for the liberation of all. As radicals, we use our vote to claim space for the best possible conditions for that fight. Your vote is not a code for please represent me or I support you. Your vote is the act of selecting your opponent and the contract you sign to resist. In election years, left arguments ramp up over voting, whether it's horror at mainstream candidates' choices or eagerness to help build third-party capacity, the desire to teach a mainstream party a lesson, or the belief that if fascists win, the people will finally rise up. But let's not fall into the same trap as many Americans who think voting is their only way to have their say. Because radicals know that our real power lies in our movements. Our movements can grow far more powerful than they are today, but we must work to protect them. As radicals, we don't mistake our vote for real power. So let's not use the one thing voting is good for, choosing our opponent, so we can build our real power and protect our life. So that instead of directing our energy against fascism, we can take leadership amid the climate crisis. We can nourish and protect life that colonialism has tried to destroy. We can build the roots of a real, multiracial democracy from the ground up. We're going much farther than voting. We're after real power to change all of our lives. So let's go build our power, choose our opponent, and vote like the radicals we are. The script I just read is the result of a collaborative writing by the contributors Mick Moore, Becca Tilson, and Janine Yazzie. It is based on the essay, How to Vote Like a Radical by April Rosenblum. You can find it on filmsforaction.org. We are also going to have this script available for us to do a group read inside our digital encampment. We're hanging out on Tuesday, and we're going to be exploring ideas like this. Because today is not the end of the process. Tuesday, voting is not the end to your radical movement work. Vote like a radical, and then let's get the party started with organizing.
Oh, what's wrong? The election? You're still bummed? Oh, I know, but We can't be bummed forever. I don't want to stay in a negative mental space, do you? It can be bad for your health. This is how elections go. It's blue for a while, it's red for a while, the pendulum swings back and forth. I just think we all pay way too much attention to it these days, and it causes all these heightened emotions. I didn't even check the results Wednesday morning. I got up, I went for a lovely hike, I got fresh air, I burned some calories. With the holidays coming up, I want to get ahead of those carbs. But I know, it would have been fun to have a girl president. I just think some of the boys weren't ready. I just think boys are used to leadership looking a certain way, and things are changing. Maybe not in our lifetimes, but someday. Girl power. I told Dale, I'm canceling out your vote. I'm canceling out your vote. And he was like, huh? I did talk to him. I said, some of the things Trump has said are very distasteful. And he didn't disagree. He has some friends who talk like that too. Guys are just awful and stinky. I think social media gets people all wound up and we forget, oh, we may have differing political beliefs, but that's my friend over there. It's just awful to say all Trump supporters are bad. Politics don't define a person. Oh, I guess I just have to stop being friends with Kathy, my close friend of 20 years, because of a few policies. Kathy takes in rescue dogs. I just want us to all go back to posting fun memes again. I saw the cutest one of a guinea pig in a hot tub wearing sunglasses. The election is over. We can finally just relax and get along again, right?
I think anti-trans advocacy is actually a reflection of the ways that cis parents are failing their own children. A lot of the problem with trans kids, trans adults, is that they serve as reminders that children are their own people, that you cannot control or shape their destiny. And a lot of people's conception of what a child is under the paradigm of ownership. And that advocacy isn't really as much about changing the lives of the people you're quote unquote mad at, you think don't exist. It will, but it more serves as a reminder to your children what possibilities are off limits to them. And it's also threatening to people because if you can challenge concepts as deeply entrenched as gender, you can challenge this whole thing. And a lot of folks' definition of parenthood was about control, was about obedience. Some of you raised children with expectations that would have been better served for raising a dog, and even then you wouldn't have been a great dog parent. I think people who really love their children, not just the idea of their children or the idea of them having children, but them specifically, a specific personal relationship with the human being separate from you and a part of you that you are raising. I think if you really love and are present with that, there is no way in the world you could organize against the love of another family. I don't believe that for a second. I think y'all are marching in the streets, campaigning, pushing and pushing and pushing because you know you're failing your children. And trans people have conjured a lot of the parenting that they should have been given. Their survival sometimes itself is a reflection of what we can conjure for ourselves in the absence of real parents. And a lot of people will say, oh, you don't have kids, you don't understand, you don't have kids, you don't know love until you have kids. Some of you have children and you still don't know love. And what I'm saying that might hit you that way, your children already know about you. And there is no harm you can inflict on trans people that will deepen the love between you and your own child. Nobody who is busy, truly busy about their responsibility of shaping a human being's life has the time to go sabotage it in someone else's. I just feel like, and this is another thing, trans people are some of the most deeply reflective, spiritual people I know. It almost feels like a remedial understanding to say trans people's lives matter. Like, it's so much more than matter. I have had trans people say things to me in passing in conversation that have reframed how I saw my entire childhood. And it's because they've been doing this deep work and self. So when we talk about losing trans people, we are losing the light that saves the world. It's not just that their lives matter, it's that trans lives are divine. And it makes a sadistic sense that some of the first attacks against freedom happen against trans people. I think we're past the time of dressing this shit up. And there's a lot of opinions and things I've thought for a long time that I wouldn't say because I was like, I don't know if people are like, I don't know how people are going to feel about that. And I actually think it's time for me to get over the politeness of the concern about politeness. If you hate trans people, fuck you. That's where I am at now.
Okay? Duh. You stupid fuck!
Somebody DM'd me today saying, just want to let you know I love your page. It brings me so much joy, even though we have different political views. And I want you to know from the depths of my soul that I hope every sense of joy that you have is sucked out of every single cell in your body. And I don't mean that with hyperbole. From the depths of my soul, let me take my glasses off. I didn't pay for the reflective coating. Every single time you see my face, I hope you have any sense of joy evaporates, dissipates, does not exist. And anytime you go to consume any media created by anybody who's queer or indigenous or black or trans or a woman or anybody that you voted against, because let's be real, any media worth consuming, any media that's funny or engaging or smart or informative or anything that's actually worthwhile consuming is created by the groups of people that you voted against. I hope every time you go to consume that media, the joy, the energy you get from it is sucked right out of you. And I mean that with my, I don't even know if I'm looking at the camera right now because I took my glasses off, so I probably should put them back on. I mean that with every soul of my,
Excuse me, can I just have a glass of water, please?
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna be right back.
No, sorry, sir. You have to get out. I am so sorry. I can smell you from the back. Oh, fuck, it's worse up here. So sorry to all our paying customers. This is not a crack house. It's not a soup kitchen. This is an entrance for customers. It's all good. It's all good. Here's your water and the snacks.
Thank you so much.
Agent, you feeding him is why he keeps coming around. Believe me, believe me, it breaks my heart to turn him away, but he scares away the customers.
You mean the customers I end up taking because you're flirting with the bartender the whole time?
If you really care about that guy, you'll stop giving him handouts and let him build himself up because you're here to work, not help the needy.
Bro, I help the needy every time I drive your ass home after our shift because you don't have a car. Matter of fact, speaking of homes, I've never even seen you go in that bitch. You just fiddle with your keys and then motion for me to pull off before I ever even see you go in the door. How do I know that you don't live at the camp down the street?
How is that any of your business?
Because if so, I need to stop giving you handouts and let you build yourself up. Like, I can't be fucking with homeless bitches. Like,
okay, you deal with him. When he starts coming back every single day, you take him.
Bro, we are one paycheck away from being that motherfucker. And when you are, because I surely won't be, I hope nobody treats you the way you are treating that man right now.
If I'm showing up in your For You page, it's because you're concerned about the rise of authoritarianism in this country and you want to learn how to do something about it. I'm here to teach you. My name is Christopher Goldsmith. I am the founder of Task Force Butler Institute and Veterans Fighting Fascism. Today's video is about specialization and working in teams. These things are intimately connected. If you missed yesterday's video, you can check the playlist down below. What do I mean by specialization? In order to fight fascism, I don't want you to pick up a bunch of different skill sets. I don't want you to become a homesteader, right? That is a poor idea. You want to work as part of a team. That is how humans evolved, to work in community. Now, that community doesn't have to be strictly in person. It can and should also be online. And it can be through encrypted apps like Signal, where you're just in direct communication with people that you know. First, let me say that not everybody needs to be out front. Not everybody needs to be on the front lines. If you look like me and you have the privileges that I do, you're a bald, bearded, tattooed combat vet, you should probably be on the front lines because you're wearing a lot of armor. You're wearing a lot of privilege that most other people in this country simply do not have, right? We have a responsibility to take the incoming heat that other people are much more vulnerable to, not just in terms of the legal system, but in terms of harassment by malicious actors outside of government. Your specialization might have to do with your natural-born identity. For every out front, loud activist or creator like me, there are a lot of support activists who are working quietly in the background. And without those logisticians, without that support network, People like me can't do what I do. So don't feel obligated to be out front. Yesterday's video got about 850 comments by the time that I'm making this one. I read through every one and I found some common themes. Some folks work in the professional world. One person is an architect and they said, I don't know how to apply my skill set to anti-fascism. Now this architect, in their mind, they're thinking, I'm designing buildings, I'm designing systems. How do I design a building to be anti-fascist? I want you to bring it down to a more base level. This architect is very likely serving in some role as a team leader. They're not just writing lines on a page or across a screen. They are managing budgets. They are managing people. They are working with different contractors, serving as kind of a central hub, because everything that they design, people are building off of. That skill set can be applied to our community. So you, Mr. or Mrs. Architect, that is your job. Just do what you're good at. Some folks talked about how they're too old to march. Going in the street is not for them, or they live in an area that is too remote for marching to make a difference. That is fine. Not everybody needs to march. I personally do not march. That is not my role in this movement. If you're too old to march, if you're in a place where marching doesn't make sense, you can do other things in your everyday life that are not disruptive and don't bring you into a place that you're not actually being helpful. My number one tip is to spend money, vote with your wallet in ways that you think are helpful to your community. One of the things that authoritarians always do is they go after libraries. If you're watching this video, you need to go get yourself a library card from your local library. If you want to learn about anti-fascism, ask your librarian. Library science is an advanced degree. Librarians are brilliant and they can help you learn. That is what they are there for. I saw some people talking about they are artists. How can artists help in this movement? Artists always play a role in protest, in movement building. One of the best ways to undermine fascists and authoritarians is to mock them. There is nothing more powerful than comedy. Art can also inspire people to action, to think freely, and to find their own voice. Artists should be looking for nonprofit organizations, if you can afford it, offering your services pro bono, or if art supports your living, make sure that you're earning a fair price for the things that you create. Studies have shown that one of the reasons that America is seeing this political divergence is because we're losing so-called third spaces between the home and the workplace. Not as many people are involved in clubs, not as many people are involved in local community organizations, and a lot of those organizations, like old school veterans organizations, have been collapsing because of lack of membership. I want to encourage you, if you're a veteran, reach out to your local veterans organization. Now, there's a good chance if you're a young veteran and you're watching my videos, you're not going to agree with most of the people in that particular organization. But there are lots of young vets that live in your community. And most of these veterans organizations operate democratically. And if you go in with a group of your friends and you join, you will have voting rights and you can make sure that you make space for yourselves. Those common physical places can help us build community, build confidence in one another, and build trust. If Donald Trump is implementing his economic plans, like making massive tariffs on everything that's coming from outside the United States, we are going to expect a massive hit to our economy, which means a massive increase in unemployment. So getting involved in volunteering with things like soup kitchens, that might be your speed. That will be helpful, not just so that you're helping people in a time of need, but so you have opportunities to meet those who are affected by Trump's policies. You can meet with them, share your ideas with them, build communities, make friends, and over time, work together to fight for positive change. One thing that I see in the comments a lot is people talking about making their own food. There are right and wrong ways to do this. If you have zero experience growing food, I would not encourage you to pick that up and think that you are going to feed your family. But working as part of a community who are each responsible for a diversity of different types of crops that you share throughout the year, because everything has different harvest times and different seasons, that can be effective. I discourage things like homesteading because often homesteading means that you are alone, and becoming self-sufficient means that you have to become a generalist and you are constantly working for your own survival, and you are not developing the efficiency that you can with a team, with a community where you can divide labor, specialize, and do what you're good at. Again, one of the reasons that I'm talking about growing food is because one of Donald Trump's policy promises is mass deportations of those who are undocumented. The agricultural industry depends on undocumented laborers in a way that few people truly understand. There will be disruptions, there will be massive inflation, and buying seeds is almost always going to be cheaper than buying produce at the grocery store. If you are disabled or elderly and you can't do any of the physical things that I'm talking about, but you're watching this video, you can use this app, your phone, your computer, whatever it is that you're using right now to watch this video, and you can help fight fascism in a way that actually matters. Following creators like me, interacting with other people in the comments on videos like this one, liking and sharing videos like this one, helps all of us build community. And while this app is not guaranteed to stay around, people like me are putting links on our pages that help lead you to other websites. Please engage with our content here and on other apps. If you can help to boost us in the algorithm, you help to boost our voices, you amplify our voices. Again, if none of the other things that I'm describing, whether it's growing food or going to a soup kitchen and volunteering or getting involved in protests, if you've got access to this video, you have the tools that you need to help amplify positive voices in our community. And don't forget, if you need to take this time to rest, please do that. If now is not the time to read books about fighting fascism, don't do it. Just write a note for yourself to remind you when you're feeling better. I can understand right now if you are in a state of shock and dismay. That is what authoritarians want. Take the time to recover so that you have the strength to fight when you are needed next year.